The alert blared through the Galactic Council's monitoring post on Kepler 44 to be a sound not heard in over half a century. Station Commander Velter lifted all 4 arms from the control panel, eyes locked on the readings. His blue skin paled as he double-checked the data. "It can't be right," he muttered. "Run the scan again." The computer complied. The result was unchanged. Something massive was entering their region of space. Something unlike anything. On record, Velter summoned the full team. Scientists, officers, and communication techs rushed into position, tension visible on every face. The last unknown ship had been a drifting trader lost from the outer rim. But this was far larger. "What are we looking at?" asked Dr. Cathra, the chief scientist. She hailed from the vegan system and had spent decades studying alien propulsion systems. Her green eyes locked on the central display where a dark shape crept across the star map. "Unknown vessel," Velter said. "Approaching from the Sol system. Distance, about 3 light years, and closing fast. Estimated speed. 12 times light speed?" Dr. Cathro's eyes widened. 12. That's not possible. Our fastest ships barely reach 8. "The scan is accurate," Velter replied grimly, "but speed isn't the strangest part." He tapped a key, and the screen shifted. Energy signatures, materials analysis, and power output values scrolled. Rapidly, "Look at the energy core." Dr. Cathra reviewed the data, eyebrows raised. "Nuclear fusion. And what is this? Antimatter?" "That's what the system reports," Velter said. "A hybrid reactor using controlled nuclear fusion and antimatter." Silence gripped the room. A beginner's method in interstellar travel. But antimatter. That was volatile, high risk. Very few civilizations ever dared use it. Most that tried had obliterated themselves. "Commander," said Communications Officer Rickle New, "data from the ship. It's armed." "What kind of weapons?" Velter asked. "Designs don't match any known specs. But energy output is significantly higher than ours." Dr. KTHRA slid over to another terminal, fingers flying across keys. "Running structural scans against our database. Maybe we'll find the builder species." They waited. The system compared against thousands of known designs. After long minutes, the result came back. "No match, Commander," Cathra said. "Vessel's architecture is completely unknown." A cold knot formed in Velter's chest. In 3 centuries of Council operations, every species in this quadrant had been identified. Every ship logged, every system documented. Something truly new was almost unthinkable. Could it be from another galaxy? Katra wondered. Even at 12 times light speed, that trip would take millions of years. Velter replied. "Sir," said Rickle again, "we're detecting life aboard." "Approximately 800 beings." "What species?" asked Officer Rayler. "Unknown, but carbon-based. Biosigns similar to Council races." Thera rechecked the scans. "Commander, we need to inform the Council. This is beyond us." Velter nodded. He opened a secure channel to Council headquarters on Proxima Center. Seconds later, the wrinkled face of Council Chairman Zoroth appeared. The chairman, old even for his species, had weathered centuries of politics and crisis. "Commander Velter," the chairman said, "why the emergency call?" "Sir, we've detected an unidentified vessel en route to Council space. The ship's design, technology, and power systems are unlike anything in our records." Chairman Zoroff's expression shifted. "You're certain?" "Yes, sir. The vessel is not listed in any database. Its energy core, structure, and speed defy our known tech." "Have they attempted communication?" "Not yet." Zoroff paused. In thought, "I'll convene the emergency council. Keep monitoring and report any change. Do not make contact unless instructed." "Yes, Chairman." The screen went dark. Velter turned back to his team. Nervous glances passed around the room. "What do you think they want?" Riekle asked. "Most newcomers seek council membership," said Kithra. "Access to our tech. Our networks." "But they usually initiate contact first," said Velter. "This ship's charging straight toward us." "There's more," said Kithra, pulling up another data feed. "Look at the ship's materials. The main screen showed updated analysis. Heavy metal alloys, she said. Thick layers. Our ships use synthetics, lighter and more advanced. Maybe they're not as advanced as us, Raquel offered. But their engines are more powerful, Kithra countered. The contradiction doesn't make sense. Hours passed. Mysterious vessel closed in. Every scan brought more puzzles. The ship's bigger than we thought, said Kithra. Over 2 kilometers long, half a kilometer wide. Enormous, Rickles said. Maybe they're physically huge, no, Kithra replied. Life signs indicate similar size to us. 800 individuals wouldn't need a ship that massive. Velter studied the weapons grid. Then he saw something that chilled him. Kithra, come here, look at this. She joined him at the terminal. Weapon placements. They cover all angles. This ship can defend itself from any direction. Our vessels mostly fire forward, she said. Or maybe they plan to attack from any direction, Velter added. His words lingered, heavy and grim. For 2 centuries, the Council had maintained peace. Conflicts were resolved through diplomacy. War had become a relic, sir, said Rickle again. The vessel is now in our outer sensor range. We're getting clearer data. New visuals filled the screen. The room collectively gasped. Those are missile tubes, Kithra whispered. Hundreds, said Veltor. And those are energy weapon arrays, Rickal added. How many weapons does it carry? Kurta asked. Veltor began counting. He stopped at 50. No council ship had more than 6, and those were purely defensive. Commander, Raquel said, the vessel has internal bays. Smaller ships are docked inside. Fighters? That's my best guess. At least 20. Kethra shook her head. This is not a transport. It's not a research ship. It's a warship. It's a word carried weight. In council space it was. Almost taboo. Peace had been the norm for so long, the very idea of constructing vessels for battle felt alien. We need to contact the chairman again, Velter said. The channel reopened. Chairman Zorath returned instantly. Your report, Commander. Sir, we now confirm the ship is military in nature. Armed with extensive weapons and fighter craft, Zorath's gray skin paled. Are you certain? Yes, sir. Every scan confirms it. This vessel is built for war. Silence. Then, prepare a first contact team. Select our best diplomats and scientists. We will attempt peaceful outreach. And if they're hostile, then we will cross that bridge when we must. Assume peaceful intent. Ready the harmony of spheres? Yes, Chairman. The call ended. Velter exhaled and addressed his staff. Get me Captain Morton on the harmony. Moments later, Captain Morton's image appeared. A veteran of 3 decades in first contact missions. His calm demeanor brought some relief. Commander, the captain said, I understand we have new visitors. Yes, but not like any we've met before. Velter sent all collected data to the harmony. Morton's brows furrowed as he read. This is unusual, the captain murmured. We've never seen a configuration like this. Be cautious, Captain. We don't know what we're walking into. I understand, Morton. Said we'll proceed carefully, transmitting standard protocols. An hour later, the Harmony of Spheres launched from the station, a sleek, elegant vessel designed for diplomacy, its pristine white hull glowing under the system's star. Aboard were the Council's finest envoys, linguists, and scientists. As it closed in on the mysterious warship, all eyes at the monitoring station remained locked on the screens. They watched and waited. This would be the Galactic Council's first true contact with an entirely unknown species. It should have been a moment of wonder, but all anyone felt was quiet fear. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UNSV Indomitable, eyes on the vast starfield ahead. For 3 years, she had commanded this ship. That time, they had repelled pirates, safeguarded colony vessels, and patrolled the outer boundaries of human territory. But today was different. Today could mark the first encounter between humanity and an alien civilization, Captain. We're receiving a signal, reported Lieutenant Torres from the communications console. It's originating from the unidentified vessel. Sarah crossed the deck to stand beside her. What kind of signal? Starts with simple math, addition, multiplication. Then it escalates into more advanced formulas. After that, images. Images of what? Basic figures. A circle, a triangle, a star. Then what seems like a schematic of a solar system. Sarah nodded slowly. It sounds like a structured first contact message. They're trying to demonstrate intelligence. Yes. Ma'am, shall I respond? Sarah hesitated. The Indomitable wasn't an exploratory ship. It was a dreadnought, one of Earth's most powerful military vessels. 600 crew. Weapons strong enough to obliterate a moon. Armor that could take a nuclear strike. This ship had been built for war, not diplomacy. Send the standard. Reply, she said at last. Mirror their math patterns, then transmit basic images. Show them we understand. Yes, Captain. Sarah returned to her chair and activated the intercom. This is the captain. All senior officers report to the main briefing room. 20 minutes later, she sat at the head of the conference table. Around her sat her core team, commander. Jackson, her XO, Dr. Martinez, Chief Medical Officer. Lieutenant Commander Singh from Weapons. Major Williams from the Marine Corps, several other key personnel. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah began, we're on the verge of making contact with a new alien species. This isn't what we were trained for, but it's what's happening. What do we know about them? Jackson asked. Not much. They've sent us a message using math and visuals. The ship appears to be about half our size, but we lack full scans. Dr. Martinez raised a hand. Captain, what are Earth Command's guidelines for first contact? Sarah looked around the table. Protocols exist, but they're designed for diplomatic vessels with scientists aboard. We're a combat ship with a military crew. So what's our move? Asked Major Williams. We follow protocol as best we can. Remain peaceful. Learn as much as possible. But stay prepared. Lieutenant Commander Singh spoke up. Captain, should we power down weapons to show peaceful intent? Sarah considered it. No, keep systems active, but don't lock onto their ship. We can't look weak, but we won't act aggressive either. In the Marines? Williams asked. Standard uniforms? No full combat gear. Have your squads ready in case things go south. Got. If we appear too defensive, they might see it as threatening. Most peaceful encounters assume good faith. We are what we are, Sarah said. This is a warship, and we are a military crew. Can't pretend otherwise. Jeez. Right, Jackson agreed. If we fake being something we're not, they'll find out eventually. Better to be honest, Captain, came Lieutenant Torres' voice over the intercom. The alien vessel is approaching. Current distance, 50,000 kilometers and closing steadily. Sarah stood. All right, back to your stations. You represent Earth today. Let's make a good impression. The officers dispersed. Sarah returned to the bridge and resumed her seat. Report. Distance is now 40,000 kilometers, said Lieutenant Peterson at navigation. They're approaching slowly, still transmitting peaceful signals. Any sign of weapons? Singh scanned his display. Minimal armaments, likely defensive. Nothing that could pose a serious threat to us. Maintain full observation. What about their tech? Chief Engineer Roberts chimed in. Power systems are more advanced than ours in some respects, but their hull materials are thinner. They're using synthetics strong but not armored like ours. Sarah frowned. So structurally weaker? Yes, ma'am. Their ship looks advanced, but ours could destroy it with a single broadside. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Captain Torres said again, we've received a new message. It's an invitation. To do what? They're requesting to dock with us. They want to board. Sarah leaned back, thinking. Letting unknown beings onto a military vessel was risky, but it was also the best way to establish meaningful contact. Send our reply. Grant permission, but limit the delegation to 6 individuals. No more. Yes, ma'am. She turned to Major Williams. Major, post a security detail at the docking bay. Calm presence, not threatening. And Doctor, she nodded to Martinez. Have medical ready in case we need to treat anyone. Understood. Major, she added firmly. Make sure your team understands. These guests are not enemies.
Ow.
No weapons drawn unless I give the order. Yes, ma'am.
Ow.
2 hours later, the alien vessel had docked. On the main screen, they watched as a small pressurized airlock extended from the unfamiliar craft to Indomitable's midsection. Sarah stood in full dress, uniformed deep navy with golden accents, bearing her rank and insignia clearly. Docking. Complete, reported Chief Engineer Roberts. Seal is intact. Atmosphere appears breathable. Life signs. For individuals crossing into our ship, said Dr. Martinez, bioreadings suggest they're similar in size and structure to us. Sarah nodded. Commander Jackson, you have the bridge. I'll meet our guests. Good luck, Captain. Sarah moved through the ship's corridors en route to the docking bay. Crew members watched her as she passed. They all knew this moment would go down in history. The first true interaction between humans and an alien race. But Sarah also noticed the Indomitable for what it truly was. Warship bones were everywhere. Armored hallways, emergency weapons lockers, reinforced bulkheads, and maintenance ports for missiles and railguns. Even without soldiers present, the ship looked ready for a fight. What would the aliens think? When they saw it, the docking bay, Major Williams and 6 Marines stood waiting. The Marines wore standard uniforms, but their alert posture gave them away. They were ready. Status? Sarah asked. For aliens have boarded and are en route here. Dr. Martinez is monitoring them. No signs of illness or weapons. So far good. Let's keep this peaceful. The inner bay doors opened for being stepped into the room. Sarah got her first real look at an alien species. They resembled humans in general, outline upright posture, 2 arms, 2 legs, but that was where the similarities ended. Their skin was a smooth blue. They were slightly taller than average humans, with proportionally larger eyes and no visible hair. They wore flowing robes, simple and adorned, but graceful in motion. The being at the front stepped forward and raised an arm in a smooth, deliberate motion. A greeting? A peaceful signal? And it spoke. A melodic, unfamiliar sound, like a blend of music and breath. Captain, came Dr. Martinez's voice over the com. The translation system is processing their language. Give it a few more minutes. Sarah stepped forward and made what she hoped was a universal sign of peace. She raised her hand, palm outward. The lead alien mirrored the gesture, lifting its hand in the same manner. For a few quiet minutes, they stood like that, waiting as the translation system worked behind the scenes. Then Dr. Martinez's voice came over the speaker. Translation link is active, Captain. Should be able to understand one another now. The lead alien spoke, and Sarah heard the words clearly through her communicator. Greetings, crew of the unknown vessel. I am Ambassador Zexai of the Alaran Collective. We come seeking peace and mutual understanding. Sarah stepped forward. Welcome aboard the UNSV Indomitable. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Nations Space Navy. We too come in peace. Ambassador Zexai looked around the docking bay, his large dark eyes scanning the armed Marines and visible equipment. This is a military vessel, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes, Sarah replied. This is a warship in Earth's naval fleet. The 4 aliens exchanged glances, clearly surprised. You send a warship to make first contact? Another asked. Sarah decided honesty was best. We didn't intend this meeting. My ship was on routine patrol when we received your signal. There are no other human vessels in this region. Kessa repeated. You send armed ships to patrol space? Yes. We protect civilian routes and colonies from pirates, accidents, and threats. More exchanged glances. It was clear they found that notion unusual. Perhaps we could move somewhere more comfortable, Sarah suggested. I'd be happy. To show you around and learn about each other, that would be acceptable, said the ambassador. Sarah led them into the corridor system. She deliberately chose routes that avoided the most aggressive-looking areas, but Indomitable wasn't, built to hide its purpose. Weapon lockers lined walls. Heavy blast doors separated junctions. Every room they passed served a tactical or defensive function. How many crews serve aboard this vessel? one of the aliens asked. 600, Sarah replied. 600? On a single ship? Yes. We need that many to maintain all essential systems. What kinds of systems require such numbers? Sarah hesitated. Most of the crew manage weapons, maintenance, and combat operations. Several, she said carefully. Navigation, life support, engineering, communication, and security. Security, Ambassador Zexai asked. To protect the ship and its personnel, Sarah answered. They entered a broad corridor with windows that allowed views into various compartments. The visitors could now see weapons storage, marine training facilities, and tactical briefing chambers. This ship appears designed entirely for combat, Zexa said. Again, not a question. Sarah stopped walking. Yes. This vessel is purpose-built for military operations. The aliens stopped too, glancing at one another. One finally asked, Your people build ships solely for war? We build many kinds of ships for science, transport, colonization, medicine. But yes, some are designed to defend the others. Defend against what? Sarah considered. Her response, against criminals, pirates, unknown threats, or other humans who might act with hostility. They fell silent. Then Zexai spoke. So your species still fights within itself? Sarah nodded. Not as often as we used to. But disagreements happen, and not all can be solved peacefully. And you expect that you might also fight other species? Hope not, Sarah replied. But we prepare in case peace fails. Looked troubled. How frequently does your species engage in conflict? Sarah thought of the long history of human warfare, ancient, modern, global, civil. Too often, she answered quietly. Zexai stepped closer, his voice grave. Captain Chen, I must ask you clearly. Has your species come in peace, or as potential conquerors? She met his gaze. Ambassador, we come in peace. But we are ready to defend ourselves if peace is refused. There was a long pause. X said something that chilled her. In our experience, species who prepare for war inevitably find it. Ambassador Zex's thoughts raced as they continued their walk. In over 2 centuries of diplomatic service, he had visited hundreds of vessels, none compared to this. The bulkheads were reinforced metal, not advanced lightweight composites. Compartments were sealed with armored hatches. Hidden compartments revealed tools of destruction. Captain Chen, he said cautiously, how many weapons are on board this ship? Sarah shifted uneasily. I'm not sure that's information I should share, Ambassador, but we are. Attempting peaceful relations, Zexai said. Basic knowledge builds trust. Sarah hesitated, then gave a measured reply. The Indomitable is equipped with over 300 weapon systems, his 3 colleagues gasped. Dr. Calinet, their scientific envoy, stepped forward. 300. That seems ... excessive. It's a large vessel, Sarah replied. They passed more crew, all in uniform. Though the styles and colors varied, are all your crew soldiers? Asked Zexai. No, most are specialists, engineers, medics, scientists, cooks. But everyone has basic combat training, even the cooks. Yes, even the cooks. They paused beside a training room with transparent walls. Inside, Marines in full armor ran combat simulations, practicing formations and drills. What are they doing? Asked Dr. Cullinet. Combat preparation, Sarah replied. We train regularly to stay sharp. For what purpose? To face any threat we might encounter? Zex's stomach churned. The Alarans hadn't fought a war in over 8 centuries. Most council species viewed war as primitive, a relic of history. Captain, he said, when was your species? Last war, Sarah thought. The last major global conflict ended 50 years ago. There have been smaller fights since. 50 years, XI repeated. Your people still engage in war? Sadly, yes. We aim for peace, but not all humans agree with one another. Some situations escalate. Dr. Cullinet scanned the hallway. Captain, I'm detecting numerous devices embedded throughout your ship. Are these also weapons? Sarah nodded. self-destruct charges, and emergency failsafes to prevent capture by hostile forces. The Alarans stopped in place. Gex's face paled. You would destroy your own ship rather than surrender. Yes, if necessary. To prevent what? Other humans from taking it, possibly? Or an alien power we don't yet understand? Zexai was reeling. Not only did the humans prepare for war, they anticipated losing to it. Captain Chen, he said, could we visit a less militarized part of your ship? Perhaps somewhere where your crew engages in peaceful activities? Of course. Follow me. Sarah guided them to the recreation deck. Zexai hoped to see art, music, or cultural expression. Instead, he found exercise areas, martial arts simulators, and virtual combat systems. Do your people have activities unrelated to violence or competition? Asked Dr. Clinette. Sarah looked mildly surprised. Of course, we have music, literature, and science. But on military assignments, recreation tends to focus on training or physical readiness. What about meditation? Or quiet thought? Some crew members do that in private quarters. It's not common during deployments. Next, they visited the medical bay. Dr. Calinet was clearly disturbed. The surgical tools were designed to extract shrapnel. Radiation treatment stood next to trauma units. Most of it seemed tailored for battlefield injuries. How often do you treat combat wounds? She asked. We haven't engaged in battle for 6 months, Sarah said. But injuries from training exercises are common, and we must be prepared. Wait, 6 months? And that's considered peaceful? Sarah paused, realizing the implication. We strive for longer peace. But piracy, rebellion, and disputes happen. Rebellion? Zexai asked. Your colonies fight your own government? Sometimes. Humans aren't a fully unified species. You don't have a single world authority. We have the United Nations, but different human nations still exist. Sometimes those groups disagree enough to fight. Axe. Zexai felt ill. His species had unified before inventing faster-than-light travel. Most advanced civilizations had. The fact that humanity reached the stars still divided was alarming. Captain, he said, may we see one of your weapon control areas? Sarah hesitated. It may not be appropriate. ... We are trying to understand you, Zexa said. This knowledge builds transparency and trust. After a moment, she relented. Very well. But follow safety protocols and stay close. Brought them into one of the command-level weapons control hubs. Zex's jaw tightened as he took in the display's targeting systems. Missile schematics, energy weapon readouts. This console manages 60 missile launchers, Sarah said. Each one can destroy a ship your size. 60. Whispered. And that's just one system. We have 8 missile classes for different purposes. Communications Officer Rickle pointed at another panel. What is this weapon? It seems to require extraordinary power. Our primary particle beam. It can pierce the hulls of the largest warships. Dr. Calinet checked her scanner. Nuclear fusion and antimatter. Containment, Sarah said. The 4 ailerons froze. Antimatter, Calinet said, stepping back. You use antimatter for energy? Yes, it powers our engines and weapon systems. That's dangerously unstable. We've built extensive safeguards. Our engineers are highly trained. Zex's mind reeled. The Council had banned antimatter weapons centuries ago, after a test explosion destroyed a moon. Captain, he asked softly, have you had any accidents? A few. We lost 2 ships during early trials. Around 800 personnel were lost. But those tragedies led to better protocols. Zexai F. The officers on the bridge moved with practiced ease, focused and composed. This is Commander Jackson, my executive officer, said Captain Chen. Commander Jackson stood and offered a respectful nod. Welcome aboard the Indomitable, I hope. This visit has been enlightening. It has been very informative, Zexa replied carefully. Commander, may I ask about your experience? I've served in the Space Navy for 15 years, Jackson said. Before that, I was part of the Earth Army for a decade. What kind of service? Ground operations? I saw action in 3 separate wars on Earth before transferring to space. Zex's hope continued to erode. This wasn't just a military ship. It was run by veterans of multiple conflicts. This wasn't a peaceful people with defensive capabilities. This was a culture built on war. Commander asked Dr. Calinet, "How many wars has your species fought in its history?" Jackson glanced at Captain Chin, who gave a small nod. "Thousands," he said plainly. "Human history is a long record of conflict. World wars, civil wars, resource wars, religious wars, trade wars. We've made progress in avoiding some, but conflict persists. Thousands." Communications Officer Rickle could barely process it. "War has shaped our past," Jackson continued. "We try to learn from it, but humanity often repeats its mistakes in new ways." Captain Chen introduced the rest of the senior staff. The weapons officer had attended multiple war academies. The chief engineer once designed missile platforms. The communications specialist had worked in intelligence, monitoring rival human factions. Even the ship's physician was trained in combat trauma. Captain Zexai said, "We must ask some direct questions." "Go ahead. Does your species plan to expand into additional star systems?" "We already are," Chen replied. "Humans have colonies in more than 50 systems. Will you attempt to expand into areas claimed by other civilizations?" "We hope for peaceful coexistence. But if we meet opposition, we will protect ourselves. If others refuse to allow human presence in their regions, we would try diplomacy. But humanity is growing, needs space and resources. We will not stop expanding." Zexai felt a deep unease settle in his chest. This was exactly the kind of civilization the Galactic Council had always feared: aggressive, expansionist, and ready to fight. "Captain," he asked gravely, "what would happen if another species attempted to halt your expansion?" Was silent for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was calm and clear. "We would first try every peaceful option. But if forced to choose between growth and surrender, we will fight for our survival. Humans have fought to live for thousands of years. Reaching the stars hasn't changed that." Zexai looked at his companions. All 3 wore the same stunned expression. In their entire diplomatic experience, they had never encountered anything like this. "Captain Chen," Zexai said finally, "we must return to our vessel. We need to make our report, of course. I hope we'll have the chance to continue this dialogue." As they walked toward the docking bay, Zex's mind raced. The council needed to hear this immediately. What they'd discovered went beyond mere contact. This wasn't another potential council member. This was a species that could unravel centuries of galactic peace. The humans didn't just possess the capability for war, they expected it, planned for it, built their society around it. And now they were spreading through the stars with the most heavily armed vessels anyone had ever seen. Everything was about to change. Zexai sat before the emergency session of the Galactic Council on Proxima Centauri. Representatives of 47 civilizations filled the chamber. Every face was tight with concern as he gave his account. "You're saying this species still engages in war, even while operating starships?" Counselor Velton of the Real System asked. Her normally vibrant green skin had gone pale. "Yes," Counselor Zexai confirmed. "They've waged thousands of wars. They continue to fight even now." Council Chairperson Zorith leaned forward. "Tell us again about their military capabilities." Zexai consulted his datapad. "Their ship, Indomitable, carries more than 300 weapon systems. It's powered by nuclear fusion and antimatter. Its firepower can destroy ships many times its size." "Antimatter." Counselor Nextra from the Vega system stood abruptly. "They use it." "Yes. They admitted to losing 2 ships' 800 lives during early testing. Except that is part of progress." The chamber filled with gasps and overlapping voices. "Order," Chairman Azor called. "Let the ambassador finish." Zexai waited for quiet. "They are expanding aggressively. Over 50 colonies. More planned." When asked how they'd react to resistance, they said they would resort to armed force. They would start wars over territory. Counselor Kemba asked in disbelief. "Yes, their growth is tied to resource acquisition. They view conflict as inevitable. Dr. Morton, the Council's chief scientific analyst, activated a large holographic display. We've analyzed the data gathered from the human vessel. Their energy output is off the scale. Their weapons exceed the shielding capacities of our largest vessels. That's impossible, said Counselor Velton. Our technology is far more refined. They've pursued a different path, Dr. Morton replied. We refined for efficiency and safety. They engineered for destructive power. Chairman Zorath turned to Zexy. What do we know about their society? Are they all combatants? No, Zexy answered. But their entire civilization assumes conflict will happen. All personnel receive basic combat training. Even their children learn about warfare. Their children, Counselor Nexra's voice trembled. Yes, war history is part of their education. They view it as essential knowledge. Dr. Morton brought up a new display.
Access.
Cultural data from their ship's archives. What I found is troubling. Images filled the air, battle scenes, historical wars, weapon blueprints. This is from a conflict they call World War II, said Dr. Morton. It resulted in over 70 million deaths. The room fell into stunned silence. No one spoke. 70 million in one war? Zorath finally said. Yes, and it was not their last major war, nor their most destructive in terms of potential. The display shifted. They developed nuclear weapons and used them, experimented with biological and chemical weapons, all against their own species. Counselor Kemba covered her face. How did such a violent race reach the stars? That's what makes them so dangerous, Doctor. Morton said, most civilizations achieve peace before developing high technology. Humans advanced while still embracing violence. The display scrolled through images of weapons, swords, guns, tanks, missiles, nuclear arms, each generation deadlier than the last, in just a few millennia, said Dr. Morton. They progressed from crude clubs to systems that could level cities. Their antimatter reactors already contain enough energy to fracture a moon. With adaptation, they could build planet killers. Do they possess such weapons now? Asked Chairman Zorath. Not yet. But they are technologically capable of creating them. Zexai rose. There's more. Captain Chen carried a weapon, a compact projectile device she called a sidearm. She was armed during a diplomatic meeting, Counselor Velton asked, shocked. Yes, I asked why. She said all officers remain armed at all times. Doctor, Morton brought up more files. Their law enforcement also carries weapons. Combat training is standard. Civilians in many human nations are legally allowed to own firearms. Civilians, Astra repeated faintly. Yes, there are millions of privately held weapons among the human population. Chairman Zoarth closed his eyes and rubbed his temples. So they're not only militarized at the state level, they're armed at the societal level. Dr. Morton nodded grimly. I also reviewed their media. It's their entertainment, films, books, games, overwhelmingly features warfare, violence, and conflict. Their children consume this content? Counselor Kemba asked. From a young age, it's normalized in their culture. Violence is a theme in their stories, even in fictional narratives for young audiences. Xi activated his personal tablet. I also inquired about human belief systems. Many of their religions contain conflict as a central element, battles between good and evil, divine wars, apocalyptic visions. Even their spiritual lives reflect their struggle-oriented worldview. Dr. Morton added, their literature and mythology are filled with warrior heroes, conquests, and survival stories. Right? Violence is not just accepted, it's revered. Chairman. Zorath stared at the floating data. We're dealing with a species that has woven conflict into every layer of its existence. What about their leaders? Asked Counselor Velton. Do their governments pursue peace? Many of their leaders are veterans, Zexus said. Military service is considered a path to public office. War experience is seen as qualification for leadership, and their expansion, Counselor. Nexra asked. Dr. Morton brought up a galactic map. They're spreading quickly in all directions. Their ships are fast, heavily armed, and self-sufficient. At current rates, they could reach the borders of multiple council members within the next standard decade. They establish every colony under military protection, said Dr. Morton. Each one has its own defense grid, trained soldiers, and contingency protocols. They're building an empire, Chairman Zorth said flatly. It appears so, Morton agreed, and they're doing it faster than any known civilization. Counselor Kemba stared at the galactic map, its highlighted human expansion zones glowing ominously. How long before they reach council territory? Their current pace. Dr. Morton tapped his display. Less than 50 years. A tidal wave of alarm broke across the chamber. All 47 delegates began talking over one another. Panic rising. Order. Chairman Zoroth banged his staff against the table. We need to consider our next steps. What steps? Counselor Velton's voice cracked. One of their ships outguns our entire defense fleet. If they can build more like it, how can we resist them? Perhaps, said Counselor Nextra. Hesitantly, we should seek an alliance. The species that glorifies violence. Kemba snapped. That would be like keeping a plasma viper as a pet. Dr. Morton stood again. There's more. I've reviewed their industrial and fabrication data. Their warships are not singular marvels. They're mass-produced. How many do they have? Asked Chairman Zoroth. We don't know. But judging by their resource output, shipyard capacities, and engineering speed, hundreds. Gasps filled the room. They can outproduce us in weapons, ships, even trained personnel, Morton added, because they're built for it. Every layer of their society is optimized for war. Peaceful civilizations simply don't operate that way. Leaned forward. We must consider their psychology as well. Humans don't merely fight when necessary. Many of them seem to enjoy it. Enjoy it, Counselor Velton recoiled. Yes, Captain Chen spoke about past battles with pride. Her crew treated combat as an honorable calling. They celebrate soldiers, memorialize wars, glorify victory. This just keeps getting worse, murmured Nextra. Dr. Morton opened a new feed on the display. He also examined their entertainment media, sports, and competitions. These are not just games. The display flickered to scenes of humans engaged in boxing, wrestling, martial arts, and full-contact team sports. They fight for entertainment, Kemba asked, appalled. They do, Morton confirmed. Controlled violence is a core part of their recreation. Combat, competition, aggression, they're normalized, even applauded. Chairman Zoroth slowly stood, his voice quiet. Let me understand. We are facing a species that fights wars across the stars, trains its children in violence arms. Its citizens, celebrates warriors, and finds joy in conflict. That is a fair summary, Zexa said. A heavy silence followed. No one knew how to process the scale of what humanity represented. At last, Counselor Velton broke the silence. What do we tell the rest of the galaxy? What warning can we give? Is it even a threat? Asked Counselor Nextra. They claimed to come in peace. They also said they'd fight anyone who stood in their way, Zexa reminded her. Dr. Morton looked grim. Based on their trajectory and resources, humans will become the dominant power in this quadrant of the galaxy within the next century. Dominant. Chairman Zoroth repeated. They have the numbers, the speed, the infrastructure, and the will. If conflict arises, they won't hesitate. When they fight, they don't fight to coexist. They fight to win. Counselor Kem spoke softly. But would they actually conquer other species? Zexa considered Chen's words, her posture, her unshaken confidence. I believe they would attempt diplomacy, but if that fails, yes, they would use force, without hesitation. And with their level of military preparedness, Dr. Morton added, any war would be disastrous. For us, Zorath looked around the chamber, then this is something we've never seen before. Civilization that reached the stars, while keeping its warrior instincts intact. What do we do? Counselor Velton asked. We prepare, said Chairman Zorth. We must assume, eventually, the humans will demand territory, or resources, or obedience. And when that day comes, we must be ready. Ready for what? Nextra whispered. Zoroth looked her dead in the eyes. To choose between resistance, and submission. The words struck the chamber like thunder. For the first time in centuries, The Galactic Council faced a binary future: war or surrender, and neither option offered safety. 3 days later, every major species in the galaxy had received Zex's report. The shockwave had been immediate. Chairman Zorath stood in his office, exhausted. Reports from every system overflowed his desk. The real systems had activated their entire defense fleet. The Vega colonies had ordered emergency lockdowns. The Centauri trading lanes had gone dark as civilian ships fled. "Sir," his aide announced, "Admiral Kextar is here. Send him in." Admiral Kextar entered without ceremony. As the highest-ranking military commander of the councils forces, his blue skin was a shade darker, a physiological sign of extreme stress. "We have a situation," Kextar said. Zorath attempted a weak smile. "Only one." "Sir, our intelligence division intercepted human communications. They're aware we fear them." Zorath's heart sank. "How? The mobilization? The emergency alerts? Evacuation orders? They've seen our movements. They aren't fools. What are they doing about it?" The Admiral activated a holodisplay. "Here's a message transmitted from their warship to Earth Command yesterday." Captain Chen's image appeared. She spoke calmly to someone off-screen. "Earth Command. This is Captain Chen of the Indomitable. Alien powers are escalating. Intelligence suggests they perceive humanity as a threat. I am formally requesting reinforcements." The recording ended. "Reinforcements?" Zorath asked numbly. "Yes, sir. Long-range sensors have already picked up 15 Terran warships inbound. 15? Some even larger than the Indomitable? ETA, 10 standard days." Zorath rose and walked to the window. Outside, the orbital defense platforms circled the capital world in perfect formation. Once symbols of peace and deterrence, now they looked fragile. "Admiral," he asked softly, "can we win?" Kextar took a long breath. "Sir, I've served the Council for 6 decades. Studied every recorded war since the Alliance was formed. I've never encountered anything like this."
Oh.
"That's not an answer. We have 47 member civilizations, over 3,000 vessels between us, but most are designed for border patrols, customs inspections, peacekeeping. Human ships are engineered solely for war." Zorath locked eyes with the Admiral. "Can we stop them in a straight fight?" Star hesitated. "No, we would lose. Badly." The answer hit Zorath like a physical blow. "How is that possible?" he asked hoarsely. "We're the most technologically advanced civilization in the known galaxy." "We are," the Admiral admitted, "but we haven't truly prepared. For war in centuries, we pursued culture, science, art. They never stopped preparing. War shaped them, and they never let go of it." "What choices do we have?" "3," said Kextar. "We can fight and be destroyed. We can surrender outright, or ... We can try to negotiate." "Negotiate what?" "Our surrender," the Admiral said bluntly, "but with terms." Chime interrupted them. "Zorath's aide appeared on screen, sir. We're receiving a transmission." From the human fleet, Zorath sat up. "What do they want? They're requesting entry into council space? They say they've come for diplomatic negotiations?" The Admiral frowned. 15 warships, and they call it diplomacy. "Or," said Zorath slowly, "they truly want to talk." He stood and looked out the window again. "Allow them into our space, but ready every fleet we have." Quietly, "Yes, sir." Chairman Zorath stood at the center of the Galactic Council chamber. Every seat was filled. Representatives from all 47 member species had gathered for what was likely the most important session in their history. Outside, anchored in a precise and disciplined formation. 15 Terran warships loomed in high orbit, each a stark reminder of what had brought them here. The humans had been invited to send a diplomatic team. Zorath had expected Captain Chen and a few envoys. Instead, 20 representatives arrived, most wearing military uniforms adorned with an intimidating number of medals and service badges. The leader of the group stepped forward, an older man with silver hair, deep lines across his face, and a long scar down his cheek. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," he said in a firm voice that carried effortlessly through the chamber, "I am Admiral Marcus Webb, Supreme Commander of the United Nations Space Navy. We come in peace, but we come prepared." The room went still. Even his greeting felt like a challenge. Admiral Webb, Chairman Zorath, replied carefully, "Welcome. We hope to build a foundation of peaceful cooperation between our peoples." "As do we," Chairman Webb said. "But before we speak of peace, we must confront the obvious." He raised a hand, and holographic displays lit up along the chamber walls. Maps showing both the Council and human fleets in high alert formations. "You've mobilized every fleet at your disposal out of fear. We've brought our own ships because we do not wish to be destroyed by anxious aliens making preemptive decisions." There was a stunned silence. The humans were skipping diplomacies, traditional formalities, and getting straight to the core issue. "Admiral," said Counselor Velton, "our mobilization was a precaution. We didn't understand your intentions." "Our intentions," Webb said, "are simple. We seek peaceful coexistence, but we will not be intimidated, threatened, or erased. We survived Earth's bloodiest centuries by refusing to back down. That won't change now." "We have no desire to threaten you," Zorath offered diplomatically. "Then let's plan for the future," Webb replied. A new map appeared, one with red human systems and blue Council territories. "As you can see, our civilizations are expanding. Within 50 years, we'll meet along our borders. We can prepare for that convergence together, or let chaos decide." "The outcome. What do you propose?" asked Counselor Nexra. "We propose joining the Galactic Council as equal members." "Equal?" Counselor Kemba frowned. "You would follow our laws?" "We would follow Council laws in Council space," Webb said. "In human space, you would respect ours. On matters affecting both parties, we would cooperate." "If disputes arise between human and Council worlds," asked Zorath, "then we resolve them the way you resolve yours, through diplomacy, mediation, and compromise. And if that fails," someone asked from the upper tiers. Admiral Webb's face turned grim. "Then we do what humans have always done. We act with strength." The chamber erupted. Representatives stood, shouted, and demanded clarifications all at once. "Order!" Zorath called out. "Order." "Admiral Webb," Counselor Velton said sharply. "Are you threatening us?" "I am stating a fact," Webb said without flinching. "We don't start wars, but we finish them. If we're attacked, we retaliate. If we're stolen from, we take back what's ours. If we're enslaved, we burn our chains and everything behind them." "Surely," said Counselor Velta, "you would prefer peace?" "Always," Webb replied, "but peace is fragile. We ensure its survival by preparing for its collapse." Another human stepped forward, a tall woman in a different uniform. She bore the insignia of ground command and the posture of someone used to giving orders. "I'm General Patricia Santos, head of Terran Ground Forces. Perhaps I can offer perspective." She activated a new display, this time showing human colonies, trade routes, and population centers.
"Have millions of our citizens live on frontier?"
"Worlds, entire generations depend on trade convoys for medicine, food, and power. We've worked hard to build what we have. We will protect it with everything we have." Her voice cracked slightly, just enough to show the emotion behind the uniform. "If defending our families means fielding the strongest military in the galaxy, we'll do it. If it means fighting anyone who threatens us, we'll do that too." "Surely," said Counselor Kemba gently. "Violence should be the last resort." "It is," Santos replied, "but it is always a resort." Zorath looked around the room. Most of the delegates wore expressions of anxiety, but not because the humans were deceitful. No, the frightening part was their honesty. "Admiral, Webb Zorath asked, "What role do you envision humans playing in the Council?" "We want to manage military affairs, protecting trade routes, counter piracy, defending vulnerable member species. You focus on diplomacy, philosophy, exploration. Let us do what we're best at." "You want to be the Council's military?" Admiral Kekstar asked from his seat. "No," Webb said. "We want to be the galaxy's military." That declaration hung in the air like a storm cloud. "And in return?" Zorath asked. "We want access to your scientific databases, advanced tech, trade systems. We want to learn from you as you learn from us." Counselor Nexra narrowed her eyes. "How can we be sure you won't use your position to dominate or conquer us?" Admiral Webb's lips curled into a smile for the first time since his arrival. "Because conquest is bad for business." "Business?" Kemba asked, skeptical. "We need buyers for our goods. We need trade partners for minerals we don't have. We need allies in case something worse than us comes knocking from another galaxy." He gestured at the map again. "Conquering you gives us scorched planets and broken economies. Partnering with you gives us stability, wealth, and long-term security." General Santos nodded. "Besides, we've learned something from our own dark past. War is expensive. Peace is profitable." "But you're still prepared for war," Admiral Kekstar reminded them. "Always," Webb said. "But we never seek it out." Chairman Zorath called a recess. The humans were escorted to a private lounge. The council moved into a closed chamber for deliberation. The debate was fierce. "We can't trust them," Counselor Velton insisted. "They glorify conflict, and we can't defeat them," Kekstar replied. "They made that crystal clear." "So we must choose," said Counselor Kemba. "Cooperation or confrontation. They will expand regardless of what we decide," Admiral Kekstar added. "At least if we accept them, we can shape the rules they play by." "But what if they betray us later?" asked Counselor Nexra. "And what if rejecting them makes them our enemies now?" countered Kekstar. "Are we ready for that war?" For hours, the chamber was consumed by discussion, analysis, and grim calculations. At last, Chairman Zorath called for a vote. The final tally, 35, in favor of accepting the Terran proposal. 12 opposed. When the council reconvened, the humans stood silently as Zorath addressed them. "Admiral Webb," he said, "after careful deliberation, the Galactic Council has voted to accept humanity into our ranks with full and equal status." "Thank you, Chairman," Webb replied. "However, we expected some conditions indeed," Zorath said. "First, all human military operations must be conducted under Council oversight. Second, no unilateral use of force without Council approval. Third, human forces must respect the sovereignty of all member worlds." Webb nodded. "All reasonable. But we request one term of our own. Name it. If the Council comes under existential threat, internal or external, you will allow us to defend it as we see fit." Zorath paused. It was a dangerous clause, one that granted humanity broad wartime autonomy. But it was also the only guarantee of survival. "Agreed." Webb stepped forward and extended his hand. "Then welcome to the new Galactic Order. Chairman, I believe this is the beginning of a beautiful partnership." Zorath shook the human's hand. Somewhere deep in his mind, a quiet voice whispered, "We may have saved the present, but at what cost to the future?" The immediate crisis was over, but the age of peace had ended. In its place, a new age had begun, an age of human protection. Outside the station, the Terran fleet repositioned. They were no longer guests. They were guardians, now stationed permanently in orbit, visible to every vessel entering Council space. The galaxy had changed, not with a battle, but with a handshake. And everyone knew nothing would ever be the same again.